Donald Trump walked into Secret Service headquarters unannounced. What happened next left the agents flabbergasted. The main entrance to the Secret Service offices in Washington, D.C., was not designed for surprises. Every move inside had been meticulously considered, planned, and executed. Agents were unaccustomed to surprise visits, especially from someone as prominent as Donald Trump. However, on this particular morning, a motorcade arrived unexpectedly. There were no prearranged meetings or warnings, simply an unexpected arrival that caused confusion among the security personnel. When the doors swung open, he went out, accompanied by only a few employees. The typical swarm of cameras was nowhere to be found. No press, no official announcements, just Trump inside the offices. The energy shift was immediate. Agents talked between themselves, attempting to figure together what was happening. Some imagined it was a practice, a security check, or perhaps a visit for a sensitive briefing. Others were not so convinced. "Why is he here?" one agent asked, under his breath. Another shook his head. "No idea. But whatever it is, it's abnormal." Trump strolled through the metal detectors with unwavering confidence. He didn't stop to shake hands or make a joke. He just continued marching, as if on a mission only he understood. But the real confusion began when he went off route, into a hallway that was not intended for tourists. Secret Service offices were not prepared for unanticipated trips, particularly from someone like Donald Trump. The passageways were narrow, sterile, and constantly monitored. With cameras recording every action, his footsteps echoed, intensifying the tension in the air. Agents stationed along the walls froze, their gazes darting between one another. No one had been briefed on this. "Where's he going?" a younger agent whispered to his supervisor. The older man did not respond immediately. Instead, he grabbed for his earpiece. No response from the command, just static. Trump did not slow down. He proceeded purposefully, passing by the operations center and the intelligence briefing room, areas that a president or previous president would have visited. But he didn't stop there. Then something happened that caused every agent in the hallway to tighten up. He turned left. That passageway was closed to guests and led directly to one of the most guarded places in the entire building, the tactical training facility. The main agent, a straight-talking man in his 50s, moved forward. His voice was low and controlled. "Mr. President, that area is off limits." Trump did not even recognize him. He did not slow down or speak. Instead, he grabbed for the reinforced steel door and opened it without hesitation. Whatever he planned to do next would leave everyone stunned. The corridor fell silent as Trump stepped through the door. Agents exchanged anxious looks, but no one stopped him. The tactical training facility was a classified area designated for the most advanced defensive combat exercises, counter-assault maneuvers, and live-fire simulations. It was where Secret Service operatives were shaped, taught to respond in seconds under great pressure. Not a place for casual visits. The inside air smelled like gunpowder and sweat. Large screens showed live security footage, while numerous, high-ranking instructors remained motionless, torn between etiquette and amazement. One of them, a hefty man in his 60s, recognized the guest right once. His brow furrowed as he exchanged glances with a colleague. "What the hell is he doing here?" Trump continued going, studying the place as if he had been there before. He walked past a row of tactical mannequins, came to a stop near a training mat, and spoke for the first time. "Let's see what you've got." Silence. Several agents exchanged uneasy glances. "Was he serious, sir?" one of the trainers said carefully. "This is an active drill site. It is not a demonstration room." Trump did not blink. "I know exactly what it is." Then he did something no one in the room could have expected. He removed his jacket, loosened his tie, and stepped on the mat. For a moment, no one spoke. All eyes were on Trump, who stood in the middle of the training mat, tie undone and jacket flung over a nearby chair. The room was completely still, except for the gentle buzz of surveillance monitors in the background. A grizzled man with a buzz cut and a scar above his left eye took the lead as an instructor. His voice was measured, but his posture was forceful. "Mr. President, this isn't a game," Trump smirked. "Neither is the job you do." Then he did something even more outrageous. He pointed toward the instructor. "Come on, show me what you teach these guys." The air in the room became thicker. The instructor took a quick peek at the other agents. This cannot be happening. A former president confronted a military instructor in the midst of a highly classified facility. It had to be some type of exam. But Trump refused to back down. His attitude was comfortable, yet his eyes held an enigmatic expression. A younger agent, hardly more than 30, gave a hushed chuckle. "This can't be real." The teacher inhaled slowly. He'd taught hundreds of men, many of them elite operations, but this was something else. "All right, sir," he finally replied. "I'll go easy." Trump shakes his head. "Don't." The room stiffened. In a flurry, the teacher moved first. A quick, rehearsed technique designed to control and subdue. However, what happened next halted everyone in their tracks. Trump responded, not correctly, nor with the precision of a seasoned combatant, but he knew something. His actions were sudden, defensive, and effective. The kind that appeared too natural to be rehearsed and too practiced to be random. A second move, another block, and a shift in weight threw the instructor off balance. For a brief moment, the room burst into murmuring. Did he just... No way. The instructor stepped back, his eyes narrowed. He was taking this very seriously, now. And for the first time, every agent in the room understood they didn't know who they were looking at. But the biggest shock was still to come. They were no longer simply watching. They were researching. A previous president standing toe-to-toe with a Secret Service instructor was not only surprising, but unbelievable. The instructor, now fully engaged, shifted his stance, no longer holding back. He moved forward again, this time with planned force. Trump moved quickly, not fast enough to be a professional fighter, but fast enough to create concerns. He did not rely on physical strength, but rather on something more technical and sophisticated. Another parry, another planned stride, and then, in a second, Trump did something that sent shivers through the audience. He dropped the instructor, not hard or aggressively, but with a fluid, controlled action that sent him to the ground. The hush that ensued was unpleasant. No one knew how to respond, laugh, or question what they'd just witnessed. The instructor, still on the mat, peered up at Trump for a long time. He was bewildered, not angry. He finally sat up and sighed. "Where the hell did you learn that?" Trump just straightened his cuffs, slung his jacket back over his shoulders, and smirked. "Let's just say I've been around." The tension in the room altered. Some agents remained skeptical, while others, though they wouldn't admit it, were impressed. But the most crucial reactions were taking place outside the room. They had no idea that the entire episode was being monitored in real time. High-ranking authorities were rewinding, repeating, and taking notes on the footage in a secure surveillance room down the hallway. One of them, a senior director with decades of government experience, sat back in his chair. He did not speak immediately away. Instead, he observed, analyzed, and calculated. He finally said it. "We need to talk to him." The question was, who else had taken notice? Trump exited the training facility as if nothing had happened, his tie still loose and his countenance enigmatic. But behind him, agents were still trying to piece together what they had just witnessed. This was not a publicity stunt. There were no cameras, no crowd, and no contrived scene for the media. So why? Back in the surveillance room, the senior director wasn't the only one looking. The footage had previously been flagged, and higher-ups were being contacted. An internal analyst, a woman with keen eyes and a decade of expertise researching behavioral patterns, was the first to express what everyone else was thinking. He didn't fight like a politician. The director moved his focus to her. "Explain." She played again the tape, slowing it down frame by frame. He moved in a way that was neither slick nor amateurish. He was adapting. His responses were not honed in a gym, but rather on the field. A long stillness enveloped the room. Then another. Expert and ex-military stood up. Those were counter-surveillance takedowns. The director's fingers beat against the desk. "Which means..." The analyst swallowed. "Which means at some point in his life, Donald Trump learned how to defend himself against a professional tale. The weight of those words lingered in the air. That was not the type of instruction you would get at a weekend self-defense school. It was not something a bodyguard taught you for fun. It was something you learned when you had a cause to. The director stood up. "Get me his old security records." The experts exchanged cautious glances. One of them paused. "Sir, those files are classified." The director did not blink. "I do not care. Get them, because if Trump had a secret past, someone else would have known about it. And if that person was looking, this moment had just altered everything." That day changed everything at the Secret Service headquarters. Whispers echoed through every hallway and briefing room. Agents who watched the incident kept repeating it, in their minds. How Trump moved, how he reacted, and how he took down a seasoned instructor with incredible precision. But the real storm was occurring behind closed doors. Inside a guarded intelligence office, the senior director sat in front of a stack of classified documents that were not meant to be seen by the public. One of the analysts, who had flagged the footage, passed a report across the table. "Sir, these are the security records you requested." The director snatched it up, scanning through pages of old surveillance reports, classified documents, and files from previous security details. Then he paused. One document stood out. Not for what it said, but because of what was redacted. Whole portions have been suppressed, and entire paragraphs are blacked out. The analyst cleared her throat. That's from his time in the 1980s, before his presidency, before the heavy security details. The director stared at the pages. What had been hushed up? Then his gaze settled on one unredacted line. A location. Moscow, 1987. Silence. The analyst folded her arms. "Sir, why would a real estate mogul have classified surveillance logs from Moscow?" The director did not respond since he didn't know. But somebody did. And if Trump's unannounced visit to Secret Service headquarters proved anything, it was that he had not forgotten what had happened before. And perhaps, just maybe, he wanted to remind some individuals that he still remembered. Donald Trump walked out of Secret Service headquarters that day, as if nothing had happened. No press conferences, no remarks, and no carefully planned story to explain the situation. But behind those confines, something had changed. Agents who had previously regarded him as simply another high-profile individual suddenly saw him differently. Not as a politician, not as a businessman, but as something else entirely. What did he know about the sensitive papers, missing details, and obscured history? Perhaps the better question was, who knew about him? In the following weeks, security clearances were surreptitiously updated. Some files were re-examined. High-ranking officials who had previously believed they understood the former president found themselves questioning everything, because the intelligence community dreaded the unknown. And on that day, Trump reminded them of something simple, yet chilling. He was still unpredictable, not just in politics or the media, but in a way that drew attention from the world's most powerful agencies. Power is defined not just by what you own or say, but also by what you know and, more significantly, what people do not know about you. Certain things are not meant to be explained. Some moments are intended to leave people guessing. And this is exactly what Trump accomplished. Did he plan it? Or did he act on instinct? Nobody knew for sure. But one thing was certain. That day, he entered Secret Service headquarters like an open book and left as a question mark. What do you believe actually happened? Please share your ideas in the comments below. And if you enjoy deep dives into moments like this, be sure to subscribe. You will not want to miss what happens next.